Hey, what's up, podcast? It's Jeff. Just want to jump in here. This is a special bonus episode of Teach Better Talk. This is actually going to be the audio recorded from a Facebook Live that our team is doing every single day, Monday through Friday, at 8 a.m. Eastern Time in our Facebook private group. You can get in that group at teachbettergroup.com or go on to Facebook and just search Teach Better Team. You'll see our page and then you'll see the group. Get in there. So here we go, a special bonus episode of Teach Better Talk pulled from one of our Facebook Live videos in our private group at teachbettergroup.com. Hope you enjoy.
Amazing guest this morning for our daily drop-in. Mr. Brian Zwemke, how are you?
I'm doing okay, Ray. Good morning to you.
You're doing okay? Like you're not so excited to be here bright and early for our daily drop-in?
This is the most exciting thing I have on my calendar today.
That better be true.
It's true.
So, Brian, for our network who may not be connected to you yet, which I know is probably a very, very small group, but would you mind kind of telling us a little about yourself, kind of what you do in education?
Sure. I'm a high school principal and serving as a first-year high school principal. I've been in education for about 20 years now, between being a classroom teacher and an administrator, and really enjoying myself as an educator, as a high school principal right now. And that's kind of me in a nutshell, related to the 20 years that I've been able to add to the field.
That's fair. Well, I appreciate you joining us for our daily drop-in. This happens every single morning, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 7 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Eastern. And this is not only an opportunity for us to have a conversation and for you to obviously share all the insight that you'll be sharing, but also an opportunity for our network to post questions, have us kind of brainstorm through solutions for educators around the world. And then these daily drop-ins get turned into Teach Better Talk bonus episodes. They go up on YouTube. They're shared on all platforms. And we just kind of try to share this out every single day to ensure that teachers feel supported. So we have a lot of people that are commenting already. Looks like Chad Ershowski's jumping in here bright and early. Knowing him, he's already like done a run or something. He's been like doing a mile or multiple miles a day. It's crazy.
That's good.
Yeah, Alex is in here. Good morning, Alex. Brian, for maybe some educators as they start to come in, would you mind telling us, I know that you said you're a high school principal. I actually know a lot more about you. You've done a lot of things to support educators throughout your time outside of you being an administrator. But what's your current district standing in the coronavirus that we're going through right now?
I think it really starts down just with supporting people. Really our core values are to create an environment that is great for our students and staff on a daily basis. Now we have the unique challenge of being able to do that through, e-learning or remote learning or distant learning. I'm not quite sure what we're calling it right now. But
what word do you want to go with?
I don't know. I think it's just learning and support. So really that's the pillar of what we try to do on a daily basis. Being that, go ahead.
No, so I know this sounds odd, but can you confirm, like, your school's closed, right? Because you're in the state of Illinois.
Our school's closed. I'm in the state of Illinois, and it's our spring break.
So there's no e-learning or anything being had because this was already a scheduled break that you guys were going to have.
Correct.
So how do you kick off Monday morning?
Say that again?
How are you kicking off Monday morning?
Monday morning, when we get back?
Yeah, when you get back. Are you guys in an e-learning phase? Did you prepare for this before the break?
We've done a nice job of working with our staff throughout the course of the year, getting ready for e-learning in some capacity. Obviously, nobody ever saw this coming, but related to weather or other reasons we would have to close school. So we've been doing that work really in the fall and in the winter, and then obviously it's accelerated over some time. I think the thing that we're all recognizing now when we go back to Monday is, are we going back into an e-learning phase? Are we going back into an act of God phase as the governor has created? So we don't quite know exactly what we're coming back into on Monday. We're still taking guidance from the State Board of Education.
Nice. Well, it makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of educators are still in that phase of unknown, which has kind of sparked a lot of questions during our daily drop-in every morning of teachers slowly getting different information, whether it be from their administrators or the state or, anyone else who's providing that information. And so we're just taking it day by day. I do have to give a shout out to Kimberly, who says she may need to go out for a run this morning. I don't know. I'm not really into a big workout this morning. Brian, are you doing a big workout this morning?
I need to go out for a run. That'll be a part of the day.
I feel like after our daily drop-in, we should do like a virtual run. Chad can go on a run. You can go. Looks like Kimberly's game.
Who's at? Alex is at 40K walking for the month. That's pretty good.
Yeah, Alex is actually also in Illinois. You connected with him at a conference we all were at for ESSA, I think it was. Was that? No, it wasn't ESSA. It was
IdeaCon.
IdeaCon, that's what it was. Yep.
IdeaCon.
So that's, yes. I don't know that I probably should start running. That's like what Chad and Jeff always joke with me about, that I need to start like maybe being active. Ray, you mentally work out daily. You're good. All right, that's good. See, somebody's got my back. I just want to say, looks like Dave Schmitto has my back right there. I appreciate you, Dave Schmitto.
Chad's suggesting a digital Teach Better marathon.
I think we should do that. Dave Schmitto did the #Teacher26. And so maybe we need to start a Teach Better marathon. Chad, you have to lead that though. Is that all right?
Maybe we should just get 26 people to each do a mile.
Does that count? I will totally participate in that if that's the case.
I think here's the situation. We take, watch this. We got a little prop here.
Uh-oh.
We take the Teach Better book and you run with it for a mile. And then you virtually hand it off to somebody else. And then it's like the Teach Better marathon. Hey, one of the things that I'm noticing with Chad this morning is, one, he's very awake. And then,
well, like you remember, he's Eastern time, so he's an hour ahead. He's already had his coffee and everything.
Really? Hey, are you drinking coffee this morning? This one's sponsored. This Teach Better podcast or live, is we're calling it. It's sponsored by Yeti.
By Yeti. Well, I think we do need some sponsors for our daily drop, and if you could make that happen, that'd be wonderful.
It'd be terrific.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very nice cup of coffee.
Okay, wait. Jeff wants to clarify. Whoa, did Zwemke just get Ray to commit to a mile? Jeff, a mile like walking slowly in flip-flops. I just want to confirm. This is not a running mile, nothing like that. No.
And it has to be video recorded or alive, whatever you prefer.
A whole mile? Ugh, that's a lot of, what is that, being on camera for like a whole 15 minutes? We've almost done that now. We're at 7 minutes so far. All right. We need to get back on track. So we have a lot of people joining us for a daily drop-in. Brian, I know that you've participated in these a lot and now being live on camera with us throughout the conversation. I'm loving all of the comments so far, but I do want to get back to education. I do have to ask, you are somebody who's not normally working from home. Now educators around the country are kind of staying isolated. They're needing to support students at home and also support their children at home. How are you coping with that? Do you have a routine that you're putting in place? Kind of give us some insight.
So I'm a calendar junkie, and I like to kind of have my days, all set up and use, Google Keep and so the technology of things doesn't scare me. We've done our Zoom videos. We've looked at, Google Hangouts and, Google Classrooms are our preferred platform, although some people are using Edmodo or some other types of things. So the technology piece of things, I think I'm fine with. Our teachers are fine with. All the buzzwords of 21st century learning and SAMR model and all those types of things, I think will be fine. The thing that I miss is just the daily relationships, walking around, both of the campuses that I get to serve as a principal, and really just kind of missing people, missing the kids, missing our office staff, the the parents that drop in, all of those types of things that just happen that have that natural buzz of a school on a daily basis. And right now you just don't have that. And so that's one of the areas that you think about, well, what are you going to do, or how do you get that kind of daily buzz that you would get in a building? And right now that's really challenging. From your perspective, how are you dealing with it?
No, I guess I'm seeing the same thing, but it's interesting because the situation that I'm in, we haven't started any e-learning, so I've had no contact with my students at all, and so that's been a huge struggle. And then with the team teachers that I work with, we have a text message thread. We've been talking a lot, but I wonder, like, long term, how we put supports in place to accommodate for that, right? So there's a lot of things that we've talked about in our daily drop-ins and other live sessions that we've done on how to build relationships with students and how important it is right off the bat to kind of start fresh with students in terms of e-learning, set the procedures, build those relationships, and then eventually get into the newer content slowly but surely. But as a principal lens, you're in a very different space where a lot of the contacts that you may have had almost become more challenging to continue. So what type of supports, what type of things can you do in your role to get face time with students, to get face time with parents, to keep kind of connecting with your staff and keep that building culture, even though you're all in your own individual homes?
Sure. I think you're going to have to rely on the technology right now. So, in some ways, when we've met with our administrative team, our department chairs, we've done, Zoom videos. I know our department chairs are doing, kind of virtual Zoom videos with their staff, checking in on them. And I've been really proud of the fact that, we're kind of in a hurry up and wait phase. So are you going to be ready for, some sort of e-learning? But when that e-learning begins, it's just, again, like I said, I'm kind of still waiting on the guidance. So, the check-ins that I've seen with teachers, or the check-ins that I've done with teachers, or department chairs with teachers and so on, have been, hey, first of all, how are you doing? Which I think is really, really important. And then what do you need to be ready with instruction? And I think before we start thinking about instruction, we have to think about the mental health of our own staff, the mental health of our own kids, the identities that we all have, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, really are wrapped up into these jobs that we do. And there's so much more than a job, and obviously it's so much more than school that people are missing right now.
And I like that you mentioned Zoom calls, because that really adds an important face element that I think educators are starting to see the benefit of. I know a lot of districts aren't requiring that type of conversation between teachers and students, but the ability to hop on a call with, whether it be a colleague or a student or a department chair, and see each other in a Zoom call is very different than, picking up a phone. I don't really know why that is, but it seems totally different as we continue to stay isolated in our homes.
Well, I think that comes just like from comfort. I'm just thinking, even as I sit here, with you, I don't do this as often as you and Chad and Jeff and the rest of the Awesome Teach Better team do. So I'm cognizant of where I am on the camera screen right now. I'm cognizant of what my voice sounds like. I'm cognizant of all those types of things. And if I was in a room with a group of teachers or with my office staff or whatever, we'd be much more comfortable. So I think there's going to be a level of just people trying to get comfortable being on camera. What they're saying, how they're being received, what does their background look like, all those types of things. Hey, I got a visitor from my puppy.
You do.
all of those things are going to take some time. And I think we have to give people that right amount of time to kind of get into their comfort zone with technology and video.
Yeah, it's interesting. Sean says our teachers are doing Hangout Meets or Zoom at least every other day. Kids really appreciate it. Our principal does a Hangout Meet check-in with our faculty every morning, and Flipgrid recap of the day in the afternoon. So that's actually a lot of contact. Can I ask you really quick about a tech tool thing? Would you mind?
Sure.
So we've talked about like 3 key things so far. You mentioned Zoom. Sean brought up Google Hangouts or Google Meet, and he also brought up Flipgrid. Those are 3 different platforms that allow you to do video and face, like all these different types of interactions
Right.
in kind of different ways. Do you have a preference of one? Have you used all 3 of those?
Yeah, I've used all 3 of those. I know some other school districts are using Microsoft Teams right now. I'm liking Zoom for the aspect of you can get multiple people on. They've waived kind of that 40-minute time range. The other piece that I really like is you have the ability to share your screen. So the other night, just in the sense that our district still has business to do, we had a board meeting through Zoom and was able to share the screen, was able to record it. I'm planning next week to do some screener interviews for staff. We have a number of positions open, due to retirements and otherwise. And I'm still thinking as a principal, like I have to work with my administrative team to staff our building for next year. So how do you interview right now looks very, very different. We've already kind of started using Google Hangouts for interviews. I'm going to use Zoom for interviews with a few people, then be able to record that, get that out to some other teacher leaders, and then be able to try to get some feedback on potential candidates for next school year. So that's just one example of how do you use. You still have to hire. You still have to find the best candidates to impact your school, your ecosystem for next school year. And in one way, you could say, well, I can't do anything. I can't interview. But with that sort of technology with Zoom, you can.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We had a really in-depth conversation with Dave Schmittou earlier this week on our daily drop-in, which, by the way, if you didn't catch that video for all of our listeners, you can head over to Teach Better Talk podcast and check that out, or they're all archived in YouTube. And then obviously if you're in our private group, all those videos are saved under our videos tab. But we debated the tools of, Google Hangout, Zoom, Flipgrid. I really see as something that's different. I think you can share your screen with all of them. I think there's ways to record on all of them. But the only thing I said about Zoom, which I still believe is my stance a few days later after I've been dabbling with all these tools, is that with Zoom, if you have more than 4 people, you can still see everybody in that tile format. We actually modeled that. We did a Zoom call for our private group and people could log in and kind of test out some of the features. But in Google Hangout or Google Meet, you can't see everybody all at one time. So the screens kind of rotate. So depending on who is on a call, I think that might be my determining factor for figuring out what tool to use.
Sure.
Yeah. Tammy posted an interesting comment. It says, just an observation, week 2 of distance learning and teachers are really struggling. Issues include being stuck in the house, learning on new platforms of technology. Everything takes so much longer. She says the example of even just giving verbal feedback feels like it takes longer depending on how you're doing it. She's, giving examples of recording and then having to submit it. Teachers have been working around the clock right now and everyone's a bit on edge. Versus week 1, people seem to be optimistic. This was new. It was kind of fun. And she's really seeing this difference. I know there's been a lot of comments in relationship to responding to Tammy. Do you have any observations on that, Brian, in terms of how staff might be feeling and how maybe we can support that week 2 feeling of that struggle and trying to persevere to kind of seeing that silver lining and still seeing this as a new and fun opportunity to kind of change up how students are learning?
Sure. I mean, I think, at the end of the day, our teachers are good at what they're already good at. They're good at building relationships and they're good at instruction. I think what we have to figure out is how do we want to do that? Do we want to do that in a synchronous way where everybody's logging in at 9:00 because it's period 2 and we're going to run like a regular schedule? Or are we going to run it in some sort of an asynchronous, method where you want people to check in and post, hey puppy, check in and post, at 9 a.m. and then everybody from there is going to, answer the questions or engage in the content. So I'm actually hoping kind of for a mixture of both. I think what we have to recognize is that our classroom teachers, as well as our students, will have certain things that are going on in their day. They're going to need to be responsible, maybe for caring for a sibling, or getting lunch on the table, or mom or dad are also working, or there's not everybody has a Chromebook or laptop or whatever the case may be, and we're going to have to be flexible in a situation that's already requiring us to be flexible. And I would agree. The first 4 days that we kind of did a soft launch during these Act of God days was who's going to get engaged, how are they going to get engaged, how do we take attendance, how does a teacher get connected to students, how do students get connected back to that teacher. All of those types of things are all questions that we're still going to try to work out through.
No, it makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of people in our comments so far are also noting the opportunity we have for taking risks, really trying something with students, admitting that it may not work, making adjustments, and not just making this a teacher decision on how we're moving forward, but hearing the voice and choice of students and trying to adapt, learning to accommodate that. We're getting a lot of feedback, Brian, so far on talking about interviewing. I don't think that any point during our daily drop-in, we've actually had a conversation about people still having to do things outside of the daily classroom rigmarole, right? We talk a lot about teachers needing to identify how they're going to deliver content, connect with students, but not so much on the roles of an administrator and the time of year that we're in right now in terms of evaluations and interviewing and all the other things going on in April or almost April. Do you think that those things are on pause, or do you think that principals are finding ways to still ensure that their buildings are set up for success for August?
I've had a conversation, a talk with some, principals in my own, network and beyond. And I do know, this is a time of year where you're often thinking about next year. Your budgets are starting to go through tentative phases, thinking about budgets. You're starting to think about staffing your building for next year. You're looking at, a number of items that, kind of set up that infrastructure and ecosystem for next year to be successful. You're looking at professional learning for next year, starting to think about what's the August Institute days looking like. And, right now, while we can't, impact our students and teachers in the ways that we normally do in a supportive way, there's still some things that, need to get done. The thing that I find kind of a little freeing right now is being able to start a task and maybe end one, which, during the normal course of a school day, that doesn't always happen. And quite honestly, I miss those interruptions right now. Those are the things that make the job fun. But from like an interviewing standpoint, we've done, Google Hangouts before, for screening interviews. So that's not anything new. We're going to continue to do that. Even a few times this year, working on split campuses, I'll do, a Google Hangout video with, some people at this campus where it's in person at another campus. And, you're just trying to use the tools in order to, create the same outcome. And when you think about it, whether it's instruction or interviewing, that's still the task. What are you trying to do? You're trying to find the best candidate, or you're trying to engage students, whatever you're trying to do. But the reality of things, you're now doing it through technology as your primary source versus, being face to face with somebody.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of comments. I so love that there are people that are choosing to be such active participants in this opportunity to brainstorm every single morning for our daily drop-in. Remember, if you're listening as we continue to have our conversation on Teach Better Talk podcast, you can also join our private group and post your comments and be more active in this conversation. So you don't just become a consumer, but you really do become an active part of trying to find the right solutions and get the answers for education that is really changing. I do have to tell you, Brian, there's a few comments here that I do want to get to. More comments on Zoom, more comments actually on kind of managing a household, which I know that you have children, so we're going to get to that in a second. But you mentioned that you have a split campus. Would you give us a better picture of, if you're a principal, what is your campus structure look like? Because I think that does add a different lens to the type of environment that you are normally in when we are not dealing with, school closings for the coronavirus.
Sure. So I'm in a high school district with 2 campuses, a freshman, sophomore campus, and about 3 miles away is a junior, senior campus. There's a total of about 2,800 students with about 175 certified staff and more support staff certainly after that. So it's kind of a large enterprise, really good people, great communities that all feed into our district. So you're not always there in the building, so you do have to rely on your teams, and we have a great structure and great people that are a part of the team, and I think it's always about people before it's about anything else. And at the end of the day, I'm in a really good environment where people are taking care of people right now.
Well, and that's a massive staff to normally keep, up to speed, up to date. I mean, plus the number of students that they serve. So with that structure in place, that really does support your ability to transition to a more virtual setting, because like you said earlier, you are not always in the building when someone needs something. So your school might have adapted maybe a little easier to this because they were used to needing a structure in place of people that they can reach out to for support, and then also that collaborative element of keeping everybody up to speed on what's going on at both campuses.
Sure. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it comes down to, having really good people, kind of knowing the direction, that we're all going in. And really, it's all about support. It's all about, creating an environment for kids to be successful and feel safe and do well, between the hours of 8 and 3 and then beyond. And I think that's the interesting thing right now, that I think people are really missing, that after 3 o'clock experience at a high school or any other school. Their identities of students, the identities of my own children are really wrapped up into what they do, outside of school. There's a hashtag that is used a lot, like with sports or with baseball, that say hashtag more than baseball. And I think there's a lot more than school that I think the general public is recognizing, and I think it's a great opportunity for us to recognize that the experience that our kids are having and our teachers are having on a daily basis when we do return to whatever normal is going to look like is just really like that celebration of instruction is extremely important, and we want our kids to be successful, but it's the social emotional piece. It's the being a part of a musical. We had an experience a few weeks back where we had to postpone or cancel a musical on a Friday night. They had a chance to perform it Wednesday for a matinee and Thursday night. It was awesome. And then Friday and Saturday, we had to cancel the shows. And delivering that news wasn't a lot of fun. And then we had a really supportive director and a teacher who's a technology teacher, and we streamed it. And the kids performed it, out to an empty auditorium, but 15,000 people watched it on a stream, and it showed up on Good Morning America. Shout out to Good Morning America. But it's those types of things that are very, very meaningful to families and to kids, and right now that's all on pause. I think about our seniors. I think about our kids who, are trying to play a spring sport or be a part of a club or activity that really is a big part of who they are, their friendships, their commitment, their ability to, persevere through adversity. Those are all the things that are great about music and sports and clubs and activities. And right now, people don't have that outlet.
And the more that we can take that information, know that that's the lens that our students are coming from, that they're struggling with, and put that into then the supports that we can provide virtually is really important. Wow, I think that's so great. What musical was it?
Newsies.
Oh, I love Newsies. That's a great one.
Disney Newsies.
I love Newsies. That's a great musical. That's awesome. I'm glad that they were able to stream that. That's really cool.
That was very cool. Shout outs to a lot of people. A lot of staff made that work. Really cool moment. Proud principal.
Yeah. I have been fortunate enough to consider you a friend for quite some time. So I know that you also are not only dealing with this as a principal, but you have family at home, 2 working parents. Alex commented here that, he's seeing some families that are struggling with not only students needing to be able to learn, so children in the home, but also parents needing to work, whether it be virtually or they're still needing to leave the home because they have an important role in the process that we're going through right now. Can you give us a lens? How is your family kind of dealing with this? And is there any suggestions that you have in terms of maybe setting up a routine for other families that are currently working with not only doing their own job, but supporting those at home?
Yeah, so we kind of had a stop-start, with some e-learning the week before. And then my children are on spring break too right now. Their sports and activities, those are canceled. So right now I think we're all kind of in a feeling it out type of period. We've taken our nightly quarantine walks with the dog and tried to add family time. I had a projector that I have that we set up to watch Frozen 2 the other night.
Hey.
I've seen my kids make ice cream from scratch. We're kind of trying to get out at least once a day outside, maybe every other day to a grocery store, just do something together to kind of get that togetherness. But yeah, right now that lack of routine is a little bit of a struggle. Thank goodness that we got every possible streaming service between Netflix and Prime and I don't know, Disney Plus and Hulu or I don't even know anymore. But all of those things are good. But you got to get up and you got to move a little bit. You got to get up and see people. But I think people are taking the stay at home serious, and as are we. And I think you have to right now if we want to return to normal as soon as possible. We need to take guidance from those who are in charge of giving it. And at the end of the day, I hope that a lot of people go, well, that wasn't needed, or my family was fine. And I think that's really what you want at the end of the day. Is if our worst issue is that we're a little bored, we're very, very fortunate.
So you're telling me I can't just sit in this chair all day long? I'm live with you right now at 7 a.m. Central, and then I'm going to be live tonight at 8 o'clock Central after Mastery Chat with Jeff Gargas. You're saying I can't just sit here and just work for that many hours every single day. I have to get out and move. I don't know that I like that idea.
Well, we always talk about work-life balance, right? And
I have no work-life balance.
No. I mean, maybe that's a thing. Maybe that's not a thing. I think, self-awareness is really the key piece for good mental health. I saw something trending the other day, Wellness Wednesday, and it was just, people, walking the dog, exercising, doing all those types of things. But, at the end of the day with being able to have some sort of work-life balance right now, you have to redefine that. What does work-life balance look like if you're at home? So, I think we're all kind of trying to figure that out. Some people work from home, regularly. My wife works from home regularly and loves it. I will say it's a little shorter commute, which is kind of nice to be able to, jump on at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning and check in with our team and see how everybody's doing. And I think in my mind, I'd like to be able to check in and have a conversation with somebody at least every other day. From just so that you do stay connected. Obviously with spring break, we wanted to kind of give people just a break to recalibrate, get home set up, for kind of what the next stage is coming.
Well, I think that's really important to find that work-life balance. I definitely have not mastered that yet. We talk a lot about that on Teach Better Talk podcast when Jeff gives me grief about that. But Alex is already giving me grief all over again, saying that I need to go walk a mile today. We're going to see if that happens. I just want you to know I pulled up the weather. It is 75 degrees to be nice, 45 degrees today where I live. And it's going to rain from noon to 7. So if I'm going to go for a walk, it better be within the next few hours.
Yeah. Maybe wear a pair of gloves, cover your ears, for the first, 5 minutes. And then, you won't need it the whole time. But, get out there.
There we go. I like that Kimberly is on my side. She says she doesn't have any balance either, but she's making it work. So I like it. Addicted to learning. I like that, Kimberly. You and me. I like it. This is good. So, Brian, we have stolen your time. You've been live for a little over a half an hour. There's been a lot of participation so far talking about finding the right tech tool to make sure that we're connecting with our staff and our students. We talked about Zoom and Google Meets, and there's a lot of other things that were thrown around. There were some comments about Zoom having the opportunity to do breakout rooms, which I know a lot of people have been kind of dabbling with, not only for virtual conferences, but also for ways to conference with students. So lots of good stuff there. We've discussed work-life balance. It's just ridiculous. Is there anything, if you could share anything with educators right now, whether they be your own teachers, but really teachers around the country who are trying to dabble with this e-learning idea, they're feeling very isolated, having to stay home, only getting out every so often. What's the biggest takeaway that you think people need to be considering right now in terms of, still wanting to do their job well, but also, not getting burnt out in this process as we are all, isolated at home with our own families?
I think we have to, this goes to any day that we're working with kids or working with colleagues, is that we have to allow ourselves the opportunity to grow. We have to allow ourselves the opportunity to fail. You're going to set up something for your classroom or set up something for your department or whatever, and it's not going to work. Or it's not going to work as well. And just giving people grace so that they have that time to kind of reflect. Trying to be there for people, reaching out to others, taking care of their families. I mean, I think that's the best advice we can give, whether, I don't even know what day it is right now, quite honestly, whether it's March. What is today?
It's Thursday, March 26th, but I had to look that up.
Right. Well, whether it's, March 26th or November 15th, our core values are still what we always are. We're trying to, be there for kids. We're trying to, build, a kind of, an education system that is, sustainable, is something that, that we can be proud of every day, is something that, kids can engage in, from 8 to 3, and then after 3 o'clock, something that kids can be proud of. And, I think that those are the types of things that are the best advice I can give is, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Trying to figure this all out on your own is probably a little bit of a mistake. Leaning on people that are across the hall from you, your friends at work, your professional learning network. I talk a lot about teaching is definitely not an individual sport. It's a team sport, and I think that right now we really have to rely on one another to say, hey, how are you doing that? Or I'm worried about X, Y, or Z in my classroom, or a kid reached out and they had a question that I don't know how to answer, or I'm concerned about a student's own mental health. How do I pull the social worker into that? There's so many different types of things that are going to happen to us over the course of the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I don't know. We don't know how long. But if we just keep going back to what are our core values, what are we trying to accomplish, then we should stay kind of true to our overall goals.
No, I think that's really important right now, and I love that you continue to emphasize that this is a difficult time. It's a challenging time. We are going to find failures throughout this time. We are going to see successes during this time. But going back to those core values goes back to everything, finding the why in what we do and being able to share that why with as many people as possible, whether they be our students, our parents, stakeholders, anything in between, is really going to allow this process to go more smoothly. So that's an awesome tidbit. We have a lot of people that are echoing that in our comments. And I think that that's really resonating with people. Remembering going back to our why is the first thing we should do anytime things get tricky. So it's super important. Brian, go ahead.
One quick question for you.
Please.
So your classroom is kind of already set up for this.
And there's definitely some supports that allow us to make this a little bit easier. Yeah.
What do you think it will look like a month from now or 2 weeks from now when we're back in school? What do you think a teacher's classroom will look like after they've gone through this experience of using tech tools and professional learning networks and really, really thinking outside of the box, because this is just a new box now? What does that look like next school year, end of this year, for a classroom teacher?
I think that this situation is going to cause educators to change. And I think that the way in which we change is going to look different depending on what the teacher starting position is, right? So we talk a lot about on these daily drop-ins or other professional learning that we do, is that the Teach Better team is all about being better today than you were yesterday and a little bit better tomorrow than you were today. And if we're taking that approach, then however you start is really that starting point for growth. And from there we move on, and we're all at different starting points. So I think that the differences we see will look different teacher to teacher. However, I've been saying this from the beginning when we did our first daily drop-in until now, as we continue to do them. If we go back to our classrooms, whether it be 2 weeks from now, a month from now, or 6 months from now, regardless, when we go back, if we don't look different, that is such a lost opportunity. So I think for me, it's more of the focus of, I hope we look different, and that difference will differ, teacher to teacher. But if we come out of this the same as we were, then we really didn't use this opportunity to grow. So I really am hoping, and I've been continuing to echo to our network specifically, that we need to come out stronger as educators. So whether that mean we're dabbling with different tools and we're growing our ability to integrate technology purposefully, whether it's gaining a better perspective of where students are coming from, what their home life looks like, whether we're ourselves exploring professional learning opportunities and we're going to come back just with a different methodology. I really think that as educators, we need to choose to come back stronger and, kind of see this as an opportunity, as a blessing to kind of work on our craft a little bit where we normally didn't have the gift of time. That's really what we have right now, the gift of time.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Well said.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, before we end our time today, I do want to recap really quick for all of our participants here and also anybody who continues to be part of the Teach Better Network. The team truly is here to support educators that are trying to be their best selves during this time. And like I said earlier, continue this pursuit of growth. So as we continue to do that, I hope you're challenging yourself to read a blog or two at teachbetter.com. There are about 4 blogs publishing every single week on brand new topics, thanks to our amazing guest bloggers. We have 7 podcast episodes publishing every single week over at Teach Better Talk Podcast that you can get access to literally anywhere that you listen to your podcast, whether it be Apple Podcasts or you can actually listen at teachbetter.com as well. We have about 8 or 9 free downloads and YouTube playlists that have been created for teachers that you can get access to on our YouTube account, but also under our free downloads tab. All of it really dedicated right now to distance learning, integrating purposeful technology, kind of all those pieces. So we also, I'm sorry to continue to blab on, we had a brand new course that published at teachbetteracademy.com about a week or so ago now, which is dedicated to supporting a virtual classroom. I've gotten a lot of amazing feedback from educators that are using that download that came with that big document that kind of gave teachers a starting point if you were looking for specific tech tools to solve problems that you're having in your classroom. So I was really excited to see teachers take that on and then adapt what they needed from there. So last but not least, we have Mastery Chat tonight. It is Thursday. Mastery Chat happens at 7 o'clock Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. And this week is hosted by the almighty Jeff Gargas, which is going to be awesome. So whether you're choosing to participate in a Twitter chat, reading a blog, getting a free download, participating in an online course, or just simply dropping into our daily drop-ins happening every single morning in our private Facebook group, I just want to challenge everybody to choose to be a little bit better by taking advantage of all the opportunities that exist right now. Brian, we're really, really appreciative of you taking the time to come live with us during our morning daily drop-in. I know this is early for you.
Thank you.
You have a whole staff that you have to go support after this, so we really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, and thank you for everything you guys do as the Teach Better team and the support that you've given to our staff this school year, and we continue to look forward to working with you all.
Awesome. For everybody here participating, thank you for your comments and all that you do, and we will see you this evening for our Mastery Chat recap that we do over in our Facebook page, and then bright and early tomorrow morning for our daily drop-in with Mr. Earnshaw, who is an elementary principal, also in Illinois, actually. Great connection there. So he will be bringing his insight tomorrow morning in our daily drop-in. So thanks, everybody. Good to see you.